It closed for a storm. It never reopened. In eastern New Orleans, beyond the older neighborhoods and away from the tourist corridors of the French Quarter, there is a stretch of land that still holds the outline of a celebration that never returned. It sits off Interstate 10. From the highway, if you know where to look, you can still see the silhouette of a roller coaster rising above the trees. The sign is gone. The gates are locked, but the structure remains. This is Six Flags New Orleans. Originally opened in May of 2000 under the name Jazzland, the park was built as part of a broader redevelopment effort in the city's east. It was meant to stimulate tourism, to bring jobs, to keep local families entertained without leaving the region. Jazzland struggled in its early years. Attendance numbers failed to meet projections. In 2002, Six Flags acquired the park and rebranded it as Six Flags New Orleans. The branding was louder, the marketing was sharper, new rides were introduced. There was optimism again. And before we dive in, hit that subscribe button because this story gets dark. By the summer of 2005, the park was operating as expected. Children lined up for roller coasters. Families walked the shaded pathways. Music played over outdoor speakers. No one walking through the gates that August could have known that the park would close in less than 2 weeks. On August 21, 2005, Six Flags New Orleans closed temporarily in preparation for Hurricane Katrina. Temporary closures were normal in hurricane-prone regions. Parks close, storm passes, cleanup happens, operations resume. That was the expectation. But Katrina did not behave like a typical storm. When the levees failed, floodwater poured into New Orleans. The park sat in a low-lying area. Water levels rose. Reports estimate that the site was submerged under approximately 6 to 7 feet of floodwater. The rides were not designed for submersion. The control systems were not sealed for that kind of exposure. For weeks, the park remained underwater. When the water eventually receded, it left behind corrosion, debris, and a layer of contamination that would complicate every recovery plan. In the immediate aftermath of Katrina, reopening the park was not the city's priority. Homes were gone. Infrastructure was broken. Entire neighborhoods were displaced. The amusement park became background damage. Six Flags initially stated intentions to reopen. Insurance claims were filed. Engineers assessed structural integrity. But reopening required more than cleaning rust. It required population return. It required financial confidence. It required corporate belief in the region's recovery speed. That confidence did not materialize. In 2006, Six Flags declared the park a total loss. The company accepted an insurance payout reportedly around $32 million. The property was left standing. Roller coasters remained upright. Signage faded slowly under the Louisiana sun. For years afterward, the park sat in a state of suspended animation. No demolition, no reopening, just stillness. Vegetation began reclaiming the pathways. Metal railings oxidized. The bright colors of ride structures dulled into muted tones. Security fences were erected, but curiosity grew. Urban explorers posted photographs online, images circulated, bumper cars frozen in place, carousel horses stained by humidity, ticket booths layered in dust. In photographs taken years after the storm, drink cups were still visible on counters. Menus remained posted. It looked less like destruction and more like interruption. There were attempts to redevelop the site. Film crews occasionally rented the location for post-apocalyptic settings. Music videos were shot among the ruins. Proposals were introduced, outlet malls, new theme parks, mixed-use developments. None succeeded. Legal disputes complicated ownership. Insurance agreements restricted certain redevelopment options. Environmental remediation posed additional cost. Meanwhile, the park continued aging. Hurricanes passed through in later years, further weakening structures. In 2017, Hurricane Irma damaged several rides. In 2021, Hurricane Ida caused additional structural failures. The main roller coaster, known as the Mega Zeph, stood as a skeletal outline against storm clouds. Eventually, in 2023, demolition began. After nearly 18 years of abandonment, the park started coming down. Steel was dismantled. Structures were removed piece by piece. For nearly 2 decades, however, it remained intact, a fully constructed amusement park with no guests. The eerie quality of Six Flags New Orleans does not come from ghost stories. There are no verified reports of hauntings tied to the park itself. The unease comes from scale, from seeing something built for laughter standing completely silent, from understanding that it was not closed because of poor attendance or slow decline. It was stopped by a single event and never restarted. Security personnel who monitored the site over the years described it as quiet, not dramatically so, just empty. The wind moving through metal framework can produce low mechanical sounds. Chain lifts shift slightly under temperature change. Loose signage taps against support beams. These sounds are normal, but when heard in an amusement park that no longer operates, they feel misplaced. The Ferris wheel never turned again. The water rides never circulated. The arcades remained dark. Nature continued its slow reclamation. Grass split through pavement cracks. Birds nested in rafters. Rain pooled in ride platforms. The contrast between intention and outcome defines the location. It was built for motion. It became permanent stillness. There is something unsettling about infrastructure without purpose. An office building abandoned can be repurposed. A warehouse can be reused. But an amusement park without amusement becomes something else entirely, a shell of celebration. Local residents developed mixed feelings about the site. Some saw it as a symbol of incomplete recovery. Others viewed it as a reminder of loss. For younger residents who grew up after Katrina, it was simply a fenced-off curiosity, a place glimpsed from the highway. There were no official tours, no reopening announcements, just the slow weathering of steel. Urban exploration footage often showed the same details: moss along staircases, sunlight cutting through broken roofing, bird calls echoing where music once played. In wide shots, the park looks almost intact. Up close, decay becomes visible. Paint peels, control panels corrode, seats crack. Time does not destroy structures instantly. It erodes them quietly. One of the most photographed features was the entrance plaza. Faded signage still displayed the Six Flags branding years after the company had withdrawn. It became a symbol of corporate retreat, a name attached to something no longer claimed. There is no dramatic final event in the story of Six Flags New Orleans. No midnight collapse, no catastrophic fire, just extended pause, and eventually, removal. In many ways, the park represents a specific era in American infrastructure: ambitious, branded, rapidly constructed, and vulnerable to forces beyond control. When Hurricane Katrina struck, it did not target the park specifically. It overwhelmed an entire region. The amusement park simply happened to be within that geography, and unlike residential neighborhoods, there was no urgent pressure to restore it. Businesses return when profitability is clear. In post-Katrina New Orleans, that clarity did not arrive soon enough. As demolition progresses, the skyline of eastern New Orleans changes again. The roller coaster outline fades. The empty lot expands. What remains are archived photographs and recorded footage. In them, the park exists in two states simultaneously, alive with color and frozen in abandonment. There is a particular stillness in images of abandoned amusement parks because they are designed to host noise. When noise is removed, absence becomes noticeable. Six Flags. New Orleans was not cursed. It was not haunted. It was not forgotten overnight. It was overtaken by disaster and then by time. And in that prolonged in-between, it became something else, a monument to interruption. The gates have remained closed since August 2005, nearly 2 decades. An entire generation has grown up without ever entering the park, yet its silhouette remained visible for years, a structure built for excitement becoming a study in stillness. In the end, the park did not reopen. It did not transform. It did not reclaim its original purpose. It simply stood until standing was no longer viable. And even in removal, the story lingers because it forces a quiet question. What other places are paused, not ended? And how long can something remain unfinished before it becomes permanent? Six Flags. New Orleans never officially announced its final day. It closed for a storm and never opened again. How long does something have to sit unfinished before we stop calling it temporary? Let me know in the comments what you think. And if you want more stories about places where history refuses to stay buried, check out these videos next. Thanks for watching.